Welcome to episode 59 of From the Shed End podcast with myself, TDOT, as always. Theo, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Looking forward to my holiday tomorrow. And for once, Chelsea didn't ruin my weekend since the international break, which has been nice. And it was quite a comfortable watch for once. So enjoyed my Saturday afternoon. Definitely, brightens up your weekend when Chelsea win, keep a clean sheet and score six. But I'm sure we'll jump into that after this. But how have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. Obviously, busy weekend as always. But yeah, it was good to get the 3 points in a very comfortable fashion as well. But yeah, for those who don't know, you can follow our social accounts if you can see them at the top there. So all our social accounts are there, and also if you're watching, which you can now do on Spotify, which is brilliant. If you're watching or listening on the Apple or Spotify podcast, you can also follow us on there as well, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. So let's get straight into it, Theo, because obviously brilliant performance on Saturday. I've called this episode the hairdryer treatment, which I think some of the players probably got during the week. I think Tuchel sort of said that in his pre-Southampton press conference, that he got into the players, he spoke to the players, he made his views clear to the players as well after the thumping beforehand, and obviously the Real Madrid game as well, which was a bit poor. But give me your thoughts on Southampton. Well, Chelsea, seeing as Southampton didn't score, but give us your thoughts on the game. Brilliant performance from some key players.
I mean, you mentioned give me your thoughts on Southampton. I think it's fair we do, because I think they were poor. They were really, really poor. It was a mix of us being very, very good from the off, from kickoff, really ruthless and clinical, and a mix of Southampton defending really poorly, creating defensive mistakes, giving the ball away. Ward-Prowse, we know how good he's been this season, but he, poor headed clearance. I think it ended up with Werner, and he scored. But focusing on Chelsea, because that's what we're doing on this podcast and on his channel, we were brilliant. We were really, really ruthless. You wouldn't have thought it'd be that same side that lost to Brentford a week ago, and the same side that got humbled by Real Madrid at Stamford Bridge on Wednesday night. It was a completely different Chelsea team. Whatever Tuchel did to them, whatever type of chocolate he was eating at midnight, because I know he mentioned that he had the munchies late at night and went to eat some chocolate and rewatched the Real Madrid highlights. But whatever type of chocolate he was eating, it worked, because that performance was ruthless. Players that have gone through a bit of a rough patch recently, like the Mason Mounts, the Timo Werners, maybe even Alonso, I thought they were brilliant. All three of those players are listed. Got to bring the players off that we needed to, the likes of Thiago Silva rested for the trip to the Bernabeu tomorrow. Goals wise, I thought they were brilliant. I think Mount's first goal, I don't think people realize how hard that technique is. His assist to Alonso for the opening goal was brilliant as well, so worth highlighting his individual performance. And Timo Werner as well, fantastic. That first goal he scored, Leipzig-esque. It was one of those goals you'd expect him to score back in the Bundesliga when he was at Leipzig. And his overall performance was spot on. I mean, some of those goals when he hit the crossbar, I think you'd expect him to be burying that. But the other two times he hit the post, really, really unlucky. And, fortunately for us, after it fell to the feet of a Kai Havertz, a Mason Mount, or whichever player. So overall, a really good performance. I really hope it gives us a bit of a confidence boost before the trip tomorrow. And if you think of it, if we score two early goals against Real Madrid like we did at St. Mary's, of course, it's a different type of opposition, but it's game on after that.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head with everything you just said, in terms of the players that we needed to play. We needed to get a good performance out of them, especially Timo Werner. I think he done well. I think, yes, I was ready to crucify him for the two, especially I think the one that hit the crossbar.
I think you did on WhatsApp. You sent me a message on WhatsApp, I think.
I probably did. In fact, I did. I know I did. But yeah, just in terms of how he played overall, not just the goals, not just his, again, it was almost like you just said, the old Werner that we know that we've wanted to see it at Chelsea as well. And, I think this, is it the second goal? I mean, that was brilliant. The fact that he sort of, just like the dummy, he runs into the box, does the dummy, I think, and oh no, it's Kai Havertz. Sorry, it's the goal that he should have scored to make his hat trick.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And Southampton were poor. I think we have to be honest. I expected a lot more from Southampton. They are a bit of a mixed bag of, you don't know what to expect. You might get a really good Southampton on their day, but it just didn't work for them. I think the early goal maybe uneven them a little bit, but I thought Werner played really well. I was impressed with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I think,
Yeah.
again, we have to sort of talk about him. I know I was critical of him in the last episode and, said he's on borrowed time, which I still think that is a very true statement. But the fact that he's, again, showing that he's adaptable, he can play in a different role, as a right wing back, to play in that role really well as well, for me shows that he is adaptable, and it does, when he does things like that and the performances he puts in, it does make you think, do I need to eat my words that I said last week on last episode about, is his time over? I wanted to get your thoughts on Ruben Loftus-Cheek as well, because we spoke about him quite in depth last week, but how well was he? How do you think he seemed to fit that role as right wing back?
He really played. He played well on Saturday afternoon. He almost played a part in the large majority of the goals. I can't remember if it was on this channel or another one I was a guest on. I mentioned that a big problem with Loftus-Cheek this season at Chelsea is the consistency of his game time. But if you look since the international break, he started against Brentford. I think he played the whole 90 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. He came on, I think he played a large chunk of the second half against Real Madrid, and he played the 90 minutes at St. Mary's. So that's almost 3 or 2.5 games in a row. And, he just needs that game time. He needs to show that, the manager what he can do. And I still think he's got something, he's got a role at Chelsea beyond this season, particularly of next season of the World Cup. It'll be more congested fixtures. He's definitely a squad player we should keep hold of. And I always say this as well when we talk about Loftus-Cheek, but he's always been played out of position, his preferred position. So play him in that favoured kind of number 10 role, which we saw in that Europa League season under Sarri, and he will thrive. I'm confident he will thrive. He's got the physique to play in numerous different positions, but if we play him in his preferred kind of behind the striker position, he will do really, really well. But I think his performance at St. Mary's definitely made Tuchel realise that he's here to stay, I hope, or at least got a point to prove why he should be starting games after the likes of Kovacic, Kante, Jorginho, those 3 players who, if in truth, haven't been to their best recently, maybe Jorginho and Kante particularly. So there's definitely a lot of headaches now for Tuchel, especially with his team selection before tomorrow evening.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to mention Kante because I feel like Kante, it's going to pain me to say this, but I feel like Kante hasn't been at his best for a while. And I put that down to a large number of games that he's played over, you look at the last 2 seasons. I think he's played a massive chunk of those games, but just he doesn't. And I'm not trying to be critical and say that he's awful or he's not. I just think that the levels that we know Kante is and has been and can be and will be, it's expected to have a dip. And you look at a player like him, it's just, it just doesn't seem like he's been himself. Even on Saturday, I don't think he had the best game. I think, I don't know. Is it just fatigue, tiredness? What do you think?
I'm not too sure. It would not be surprising me if Kante, we're forcing him to play through injury at times, because that's what it's been like in the last couple of seasons. One thing I did like is he did try to chip Forster, who's almost twice his height. And that's something that you wouldn't really expect from Kante. Any other season, he would have maybe tried to pass it back or cut it back or pass it to whoever's on his left or right. But he tried to chip Forster, which is quite impressive. So maybe there's a bit of frustration in there, knowing that he's not playing particularly well. He wants a goal to redeem himself. But that being said about Kante, it will not be surprising me if he drops a 10 out of 10 performance tomorrow night. That's what he's got in his locker. He's one of those players that loves these big games and always gets those man of the match awards and thrives. So it's just, we're being critical of Kante because we're just so used to Kante being,
super,
one of the best, super, exactly, covering all that ground. And maybe next season we'll have a Conor Gallagher alongside him who can do, the same type of work that he can put in. So really exciting.
Yeah, and I know we're sort of over. It's not often we score 6 goals. If we did want 9. We're going to be honest, we wanted 9 goals. But Mason Mount, I thought, was brilliant. Again, another player that's kind of come under a bit of criticism across the fan base, and I thought he was brilliant. I thought he, 2 goals, arguably for me, possibly man of the match as well. I thought he was brilliant. I thought. It was almost, again, the Mason Mount that we're used to seeing, the linking up the play, the making the space, just the critical passes. I think that was what we expect from Mason Mount. And I think sometimes, players are going to have those dipping forms. They're going to have those moments where they're not playing at their best, or, they're coming back from an injury, or they're playing through an injury. All these things are factors that we as fans sometimes forget. but I thought he put in a brilliant performance. People said it was the haircut. I think might have had something to do with it. Since he's had the sort of the longer hair, he hasn't been playing his best. But yeah, I thought Mason Mount was brilliant.
No, I'd agree. He was brilliant. His assists, his goals, his overall play, his passing, his creativity, brilliant performance, and hopefully that can help him build some momentum and confidence going into these really important fixtures we've got in April and May, because we're going to need Mount at his best if we're going to stand a chance of winning any of those games.
Yeah, let's just talk about the league, because there were some, I was going to say, some brilliant sort of results. Obviously, Tottenham one was a big result for them, but you look at Arsenal losing to Brighton. I know I mentioned United to you at the weekend, but I still think United could potentially creep into that sort of European places, but for them to lose, big game for Everton as well. But you're still confident that we can secure top four with the remaining fixtures?
I'm never really confident as a Chelsea fan. It's just, of course, you're confident given our past and how much we've won, but every season the competition and the level, the quality around us gets better. It does get better. And I think I highlighted it in the previous episode. We've got some very, very tough fixtures left. Really, really tough. Sure, we beat Southampton 6-0, but they were poor. They were really, really poor. We've got Leicester next. Leicester in a few weeks. We've got West Ham. We've got Arsenal. Leeds away, which is not going to be an easy game. We know how much they hate us. I think it's United away. We haven't won there since 2013 in the league. It's going to be a really, really tough remaining couple fixtures. I always say this is the business end of the season, but it really is. And we can't afford any of those blips like we had against Brentford. If not, the likes of Tottenham, and I'm sure Arsenal will start, hopefully for them. Hopefully for us, they keep dropping points, but they might get a couple points in. They've still got to play Tottenham. They still got to play us. If they win both those games, it's game on for them. So I want to stay confident, but at the same time, I'm saying I'm confident because we've just beat Southampton 6-0. But should we lose our next Premier League fixture, which is against Arsenal, it's going to be a completely other story. So all we've got to do now is just keep winning our games, and then as fans, that will help us remain confident. But a small side of me is still very, very nervous, extremely nervous, actually.
Yeah, I'm more confident. I think, you look at, I said it on last week's episode, we've only had, obviously from the Brentford result, but before that, January, Man City, and I always go back to those games in December where we drew, those games that we drew that we potentially should have won. If you imagine we won those games now, where we'd be, we would potentially be talking still about the title. We'd still be in the mix, with Liverpool and Man City, but we're not. We are where we are. The fixtures are difficult. I think you look at a prime example, Everton beat Man United, they're fighting for the life down there.
That's not an easy game for us anymore, is it?
No, and Goodison Park, so I feel kind of is a bit of a bogey ground for us anyway, a bogey team. I don't think we've had the best of luck at Goodison at times. Yes, we might have won some of those games, but if you look at the results, I think, it could have, it's by the skin of the teeth sometimes. I think West Ham's going to be a tough game. Obviously, we've got Arsenal, like you mentioned. For me personally, I think the next week or so is going to be crucial for our season. I think if we don't, which we're going to talk about soon, if we don't go through in the Champions League and we do get knocked out by Real Madrid, then I would expect us to go on the weekend against Crystal Palace and do well in the FA Cup. But if we get knocked out of the FA Cup, we've got no excuse. I think we have to seriously focus on the Premier League now. That's our own ultimate, objective for the rest of the season, is to secure top four. And I think the next 7 days or so will tell us how serious the players, Tuchel, really want to take the rest of this season. Because if we do miss out on top four, it changes everything for next season, in my opinion. So, always on the good side of the fence, I suppose. I'm always looking at being optimistic. I'm looking at Real Madrid. I'm thinking, yes, we've got a massive mountain to climb tomorrow, but let's talk about Real Madrid, because what's your thoughts initially? I don't know if you got to hear Thomas Tuchel's press conference. Lukaku isn't travelling. Ross Barkley isn't travelling. Hudson-Odoi expectedly isn't travelling. Azpilicueta has tested negative, which is good, so he's in the squad. So Lukaku not being there isn't a massive issue to me. I think he potentially may have had a role to play, but I want to hear your thoughts first. So what do you think about the squad that we potentially might start with tomorrow?
I think Ross Barkley's not on the plane because he's still heartbroken about not getting a handshake from Thiago Silva.
It would dishearten anyone, I think. Yeah, but that
No,
was
I think on it, we joke about Lukaku, but I think not having him in the matchday squad is a bit of a blow. He is that player that, with his physical strength, could maybe impact these type of games. I would have expected him to start, but off the bench, he did have those chances against Real Madrid in the first leg. Imagine had he scored those on a good day, and that's what the quality he can bring. Having Aspi, your club captain, is obviously a huge boost. I do expect him to start. Probably not as a right wing back, because I think that would be Reece James, and he didn't feature from the off against Southampton, so that probably indicates that he will start at the Bernabeu tomorrow night. Christensen as well did it very well, I thought, against Southampton. Kept a clean sheet, defended well, so maybe he's in line to start. But I think it will be a back three of Aspi, Rudiger, and Silva, with Reece James right wing back. And I think Alonso merits the start given his performance at St Mary's. He did show what he's capable of doing when he plays well. And I think we'd often do play a lot better with a natural left wing back than when we play without one. Goalkeeper Mendy, I think Kovacic has got to start in midfield. He's got to start. We saw when he does start what he can bring, and he did start against Southampton. That energy, that dynamism. Who partners him? I still think it's going to be Kante, even though he's had a bit of a poor performances lately. I think he's that type of player that really loves these big games, and when he plays well, he's the best in that position in a way. And front three is a tricky one. I want to get your thoughts on this, because I think so many players have shown recently that they deserve to start or maybe don't deserve to start. Werner's one, I think, who's hot in form. I think he'll be pissed off if he doesn't start tomorrow, given how he played on Saturday. Mount's got to start. Havertz's got to start. I wouldn't be surprised if it's those three I just listed. Pulisic didn't start against Southampton, so maybe he's fresh and fit to start. I'm a bit lost there. Ziyech is another one who hasn't really featured as much recently. I'm not sure. In terms of results, actually, I'll get your thoughts on the lineup first, and then we can talk about maybe predictions and how we expect the game to plan out.
I think more the same of what you said. I think maybe I can potentially see Trevor Chalobah coming in for Aspi.
Big game.
I know, and I don't know why I think this. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. I would prefer to see Aspilicueta at centre back, Reece James right wing back, but I just have a funny feeling Trevor Chalobah is going to be starting tomorrow. I don't know why. I think Aspilicueta's going for the reason that he can go. He's got a negative thing, but is he fully fit? Has he been training over the last couple of days? We don't know. So I think maybe Chalobah. I agree with you in midfield. I think that's what killed us in the first leg. I think I would have had Kovacic and Kante as opposed to Kante and Jorginho, I think it was. Yeah, so I would have had maybe Kovacic, especially looking at what he did on Saturday. I mean, his energy just is totally different, and I think he gets forward a bit more. He drives the ball a bit more forward. The front three, it's going to be hard to drop Timo Werner, but I think he's got. It's brilliant. He done what he did on Saturday. It's amazing, and he warrants a start on the back of his performance against Southampton, but. We're talking about Real Madrid. It's a massive game. I don't know. It's harsh. I would have to go with maybe Pulisic, Havertz, and Mount as my front three.
That's quite an ineffective front three last week. Has much changed since then? That's what I'm wondering.
I know, but Lukaku isn't there.
No,
I don't think I could potentially put Hakim Ziyech instead of Mount. And I really don't know if I'd start Timo Werner in a big game at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid. I personally don't think I would do it. I think Southampton is a totally different game. It's a shame for him because I think he'd be confident. I think he'd go into the game, he must still be buzzing the fact that he could have had 4 or 5 goals on Saturday. But I just think, if he misses one sitter, or an open, it's sometimes, I don't know. I wouldn't start him.
He did
That's when
miss
he
a
scored.
sitter against him last season, if I remember, in the first leg, didn't he? Just put it
Yeah.
straight at Courtois.
Yeah. And we have to remember the previous game last season was at the, I don't want to call it the training ground. I can't remember the correct term for what the stadium's called. But
Something Carlos, I'm not too sure
yeah,
now.
I can't remember, but it wasn't at the Bernabeu, and this is a big, massive stadium, so the pressure's going to be on. And we were, if it was 0-0 and it was 1-0 to Real Madrid, then yes, maybe put Werner in. But the fact that we need to hit the ground running, we have to take our chances. We have to be clinical in front of goal. Yes, he did that on Saturday against Southampton, but how many times have we sat on this podcast, or how many times have we messaged each other, or you've gone on Twitter and we've all said, "Oh, can't believe Timo Werner's missed," or he should score that, and we haven't got the luxury to do that against Real Madrid, because we saw what Karim Benzema did to us. First leg, any opportunity he got with the ball, you thought he was going to score. So I would expect more of the same tomorrow with them. I think they'll be hot off the mark, and we have to be defensively a lot better. I think, which worries me when I said about Chalobah. Well, I'd rather have Azpilicueta in there for the experience, but then you also have to think the legs of Azpilicueta, and I always bring this up.
What about Christensen over Chalobah in that case?
It's a shout. It's a good shout. In fact, it's a really good shout. It's a good shout.
But he was dreadful in that first leg, but he was good at St. Mary's. He's probably a player who's starting to hate Real Madrid, seeing the club he's about to sign for. But you just hope his head's still with Chelsea and he still performs in these big games.
Yeah.
But experience-wise, I know he's only 26, turned 26 yesterday, but he's played in some of the biggest games across Europe: Champions League finals, FA Cup finals, all of the lot in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good shout. He's played at the Euros as well.
Euros semi-finals with Denmark.
Yeah, big shout. And he seems like a professional person. Whether he signed for who and wherever he signed for, I think he'd be focused on Chelsea, focused on trying to win as much as he can for the club. So I think it's a very good shout. It's a good shout. Maybe ahead of Azpilicueta as well.
Possibly, exactly. But I love Chalobah. I do trust him if he were to play in these big games. But he hasn't played a single minute since the international break, has he?
I'm having flashbacks of Liverpool, Chelsea, Liverpool. Those early mistakes that he made, and he does. I mean, he's very good at the age that he is, and I think he's got a lot of levels to go up, but we just don't have the luxury of making any errors tomorrow. Mendy, another one, he hasn't got the luxury to do what he did last week. He just hasn't got that luxury anymore. So whoever plays has to play almost, again, I keep saying this, like a cup final. Every game now for us feels like a cup final in the league. Obviously, Champions League, FA Cup on Saturday. It's all going to be like it's all going to be finals for us now. They feel like finals. So, what's your prediction? What do you think in terms of scoreline? It's going to be an uphill battle, but what's your prediction?
We're going to need a 2012 miracle if we were to progress. We're going to need one or two early goals early in that first half, calm the nerves for us. And I just can't see Real Madrid not scoring, especially with Benzema. No matter how switched on our defense is, Benzema will score, Real Madrid will get one. So I can see this game. I'm going to go with a 1-1. I just can't. I just feel like I can't see us going through. I can see us playing the better football, being the better team, but maybe only scoring one, and Real Madrid scoring some kind of jammy goal, pinball in the penalty box, something like that. Yeah. If we allow them with any space like they had in that first leg, they will score more than one. But I think we would have learned from our mistakes. So I'm going to go with 1-1. And unfortunately for us, it's going to be curtains in the Champions League. And then we can focus on top four, which is the one kind of positive I'm trying to get out of this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult. I'd probably even match your 1-1. I think I would say the same. I think it's difficult going into a game where you've come off the back of, take away the Southampton result, but you're coming off the back of two back-to-back heavy defeats. I do think, and like you said earlier, I think Lukaku, maybe not starting, but just his presence up front in these kind of games is vital, or could cause issues for Real Madrid. So not having someone who you can bring on, we
don't have that substitute number 9, do we?
No. So, if we have, we scored 2 goals in the first half, 2 early goals. and or let's say Kai Havertz gets injured, it could change the whole dynamic of the game again. Or we just need someone, a big lump to put up front like Lukaku. We haven't got someone like that. There's no one there that we can just say, go and get your head on that, or just try and make something happen. Almost very similar to the League Cup final. If you remember, he came on, he kind of changed the game slightly for us. He even went on to score the controversial goal. Something like that we might need, and we haven't got. I don't think we've got that tomorrow. Maybe Timo Werner off the back of Saturday, but we need someone who can potentially do what Lukaku can. We know he can do, but we haven't got that person. So I think he'll be a big loss, I think, tomorrow.
I agree with that with Lukaku. Yeah.
But I think even the fact Thomas Tuchel's almost downplaying it. He downplayed it in the press conference earlier today and said, it's an almost impossible task to go through to the next round. And if he's saying that publicly, I would assume he's probably saying something very similar to the players as well. And that could work in one or two ways. That could be that sort of, reverse psychology thing where you're almost telling your players downplaying the situation and just saying, go out there, just play the football you know how to play, rather than putting the pressure on the players, which is, I think, what he's trying to do. Or he really actually thinks we haven't got a cat's hell and chance of going through. But I think it's the downplaying, trying to take the pressure off the players and saying that the players, if we go through, it's brilliant. But if we don't go through, the task was too big in the first place. I think that's what I get from the press conference.
I'm just remembering Tuchel's pre-match interview before the Champions League final. Of course, it's a Champions League final. It's one game. There's no first leg, all of that. But I just remember him saying, of course, Chelsea are going to win, and how confident he was. To him now saying it's almost an impossible task, and he already thinks we're knocked out. You don't know if there's any mind games or what he's saying in the dressing room compared to the cameras. But I still think he's going to give it his all tactically. He's going to do everything he can, but you just know that it's an impossible task, and it's going to be an even more impossible task. Borderline, forget about it. Would even bet a penny on it should they get an early goal, and we just don't have that reaction or fight back to look like we even want to score. It's going to be a very tricky one. Like I said, a 2012 miracle is needed, like against Napoli.
It could happen. It could honestly happen.
No away goals as well. No away goals.
Yeah. It could happen. I mean, if we defend the way we know we can, and we can, I think this is where Kovacic comes into it for me. I think if we can get Kovacic on the ball, make something happen, that front three has to be best game ever performance. Again, very much like the Club World Cup. I remember saying that it's got to be the best game of some of these players' lives. This is one of those moments, and I think this is where we kind of see those standout players that can get us through to the semi-final. We talk about a Mason Mount or a Kai Havertz, who we know steps up at the biggest occasions and can score goals and score penalties. The experience of Azpilicueta potentially. My only worry, if I'm going to be honest, is actually Mendy, because he's one of these players who I feel is very overconfident at times. Whether it's overconfidence or lack of understanding how to play out from the back, or he just hasn't got the feet to play out from the back. He's just very sort of
it's quite complacent at times, the way he clears the ball, passes it to one of his defenders. You don't know if all those trophies he won last year individually and as a team maybe got to his head too much. But no, it's just, like I always say, he needs to work on his distribution and his footwork, because
you've said that
from the beginning. I said it from the beginning. I've spotted it. He's still a fantastic keeper, and even against Southampton, he only had that one save to make, and he did it really, really well. But yeah, I do agree. Slightly nervy with Mendy now. Slightly nervy.
Interesting to see with Kepa. I mean, I don't think he will.
He won't start.
Be interesting to see if he did.
He won't start, and if he does start, I think it shows that Tuchel doesn't trust Mendy in these big games, which I think Mendy would take that personally. He would take it personally.
Yeah, no, and I think he will. I think Mendy will. But if he did, I wouldn't be. I've said this before. I wouldn't be upset if Kepa's in goal. I think there's a new Kepa under Tuchel. If we want to try and keep Kepa as well, we need to potentially start thinking of how we're going to utilise him, because he hasn't started probably one of the FA Cup games.
He didn't start against Middlesbrough, did he?
No,
He
no.
didn't
I
know.
think it might have been Luton,
I
maybe.
think that was the last time he started. I
Yeah,
think the only chance we see Kepa tomorrow or before the end of the season is
injury.
should there be injury or 118th minute extra time right before a penalty shootout.
We need the penalty. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But well, not to take one. But
Not
yeah,
you would maybe he would have learned from his mistakes and he won't go for power and height, but maybe just placement this time.
yeah. But
But
no, I think we've got to hit the ground running tomorrow. I
yeah,
think if we if we
100%.
don't if we don't, it could be a long night for us. And
Yeah.
and that is just if we're not defensively switched on, the back line isn't all working together, which is what I think. If you look at the Brentford game and the first leg, the defense just wasn't switched on together. It was almost, sixes and sevens, and just everyone was everywhere. So hopefully the hairdryer treatment has worked, and Thomas Tuchel has got through the rut of the two bad results, and we can kick on from Southampton as well. But so you're going for 1-1.
Yeah. And if we don't hit the ground running in that first half, forget me paying for Wi-Fi on the plane for the second half.
Yeah, it's a good point actually. Yeah, I forgot you. Yeah, I'd get it anyway, just in case.
Yeah, maybe. You never
Just in
know.
case, you never know. But yeah, so I'm going to go for 1-1 as well. Big game at the weekend as well, which I'm sure we'll cover somehow with Crystal Palace. But my final question is, and I think I've asked this before, but we need to ask it again. If we get kicked out of the Champions League and we don't get the FA Cup, or we don't even get to the final of the FA Cup, surely top four is the must. But also, does that mean we've had a successful or unsuccessful season if we just get top four after the back of Club World Cup, Super Cup, Champions League, in contention for Premier League in December? And now here we are, almost clinging on to top four as the best thing that we can hope for this season.
It's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. Like we said before the start of the season, I expected us to win the league. Come maybe November, December, I was like, we're not going to win the league anymore, even though it was mathematically possible. I did say that the Super Cup and the Club World Cup were must trophies we had to win this season, given we had never won them before, but it also was an expectation to win those trophies. So now that we've won them, we kind of realize, okay, but now we need one of those kind of usual big trophies, a Champions League, a Premier League, I want to say FA Cup. And it is looking unlikely now that we're going to win the Champions League or even the FA Cup. I feel in a FA Cup final against City or Liverpool, even though I know we've got the quality to beat them with a couple of dodgy VAR decisions or that.
Or Anthony Taylor.
Anthony Taylor, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got to get past Palace first. And that's probably the biggest game of their season. So I don't know. I'd be happy with top four at this stage, given how things have planned out throughout that kind of December period of injuries, COVID, the Lukaku interview, Abramovich selling the club. So much has happened behind the scenes. So we do have to take that into account. Hopefully get a new owner mid-May time and just start fresh in the summer, get a couple of the loan players back, the likes of Gallagher, Broha, sell some deadwood and just rebuild from there for a successful 2022-2023 season.
Yep. That's my plan. I agree with you 100%.
I haven't really given you an answer there.
You did. No, you did. I think you're saying basically that, we just need to take top four if we can't get the FA Cup. Yeah. And the ownership thing that we don't really speak about, which is good on here. Hopefully that is all sorted, before, if not the end of this season, very much in the early stages of the summer, allows Tuchel to go and get who he needs or who he wants to bring in and get rid of who he wants to get rid of as well. So, next couple of weeks and months are definitely crucial as a Chelsea fan. But guys, of course, like I said at the start of this as well, you can follow our social accounts. So if you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Spotify, you can see the social handles at the top of the page as well. But if you're listening on the audio version, it is From the Shed End. So all one word, From the Shed End on Twitter and From the Shed End _ on Instagram. So underscores between each of the words. And of course, make sure you search for us on YouTube, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts as well. What would your starting 11 be for tomorrow? And also, is it a successful season if we only get top four? I think personally, I will take that. I would go top four. More for the bragging rights, because I know the teams that might miss out if we get it. So 100%, Arsenal might miss out if we can get it. I'd rather see Tottenham in there. I'm going to be honest.
I think I rather too as well.
Yeah, and obviously United. I really don't want United in there. So if they do make some sort of final surge for top four, then of course, if they miss out, brilliant. Especially after the Ronaldo thing, slapping the phone. I don't know if you got to see that, but yeah, less said the better. But guys, it's been episode 59 from the Shed End podcast. Theo, as always, thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, obviously enjoy your holidays as well. Make sure you get the Wi-Fi.
I'll pack this off my holiday just in case.
Oh, you're going to need it. You're going to need it. Definitely 100%. But thanks for joining me. Episode 59 of From the Shed End podcast. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. We'll be back next week.